Welcome to Judicial Dollars and Cents, brought to you by Anders Virtual CFO Services team from all across the United States. I'm John Scott, and in each episode, we'll shine a light on the financial side of the legal world, turning law firm numbers into impact-driven stories. From taxes and profitability to practice growth and leadership, we sit down with law firm innovators who are shaping the future of the profession. Let's dive in, right here on Judicial Dollars and Cents. Hey, and welcome back to another episode of Judicial Dollars and Cents, the podcast where we help law firm owners build stronger firms, improve financial performance, and create firms that are both more profitable and more valuable. I'm your host, John Scott, with Anders Virtual CFO Services for law firms, and today's guest has taken a very different approach to practicing law. Rather than simply helping clients solve legal problems, he focuses on helping entrepreneurs build firms that are truly investable businesses that can attract capital, scale successfully, and ultimately create long-term value. Our guest is Michael Melfi, founder of Mavacy, a business law and strategic advisory firm serving entrepreneurs, growth companies, investors, and increasingly law firms looking at succession, mergers, and innovative business models. Michael's practice spans corporate law, fundraising, tax planning, mergers and acquisitions, intellectual property, and strategic business advising. Before becoming a full-time attorney, he was himself an entrepreneur, serving as founder and COO and general counsel of a multimedia company that created experiential marketing campaigns for Fortune 500 companies. That operational experience continues to shape how he advises clients today. Michael is also the author of 4 books, and he's got a new one coming out. He's a frequent national speaker and the founder of Investable Mastermind, which is a community of dedicated professionals helping entrepreneurs build businesses worthy of investment and long-term success. Michael, welcome to the show.
John, thanks for having me. Appreciate that.
Hey, I'm so glad you're here today because I think you're going to bring a different perspective to our listeners. And I want you to walk me through your unique path to where you are today.
Yeah, so my unique path to where I am today. So there's a quote by Steve Jobs that is, you can never connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking back. And that's something I've said my whole career. And as I look today, what I get to do as a father, as a husband, as a business owner, as a lawyer, if you would have told me I'm going to be sitting here doing the things I'm doing today, 2-3 decades ago, I'd have said, no way is that possible. I think starting out getting a JD MBA, I knew I wouldn't make it in corporate America being a traditional general counsel. I knew that. I wanted to be part of a $1 billion organization, but never thought I could get there. I'll fast forward, I'll give you the end story. I now get to manage as a fractional GC over $1 billion of businesses with and for my clients. But I think if you look at that journey, it's been an interesting one. And one part, I've been, I call it a serial entrepreneur. I've owned, I've operated, I've founded over 30 different companies. It sounds really great. I didn't do them all myself. There was teams and I had great partners along the way and, had some wins, some made it to Shark Tank, some had some exits. Many of them didn't make it. But I think that really gave me unique experience to what it means to be an entrepreneur, what it means to be a founder, what it means to be a consumer of high quality legal services, to be the one purchasing the legal services. And that's been over my career. And now on the other side, I've worn this hat of being a lawyer, being a consigliere, of working with entrepreneurs, of working with individuals who were building something, who were putting their blood, sweat, and tears into their dream, into their vision, and getting to be part of that with them. And so something that has been interesting is that general counsel role over the years, I've been able to wear a lot of hats. They would throw a problem, usually legal in nature, over the table to me, and I'd get to work on it or solve for it. And I think one of the things that's been really unique is some of my clients, just like my own personal career, have gone very successful. Some haven't. And I've had to learn how to support them as they did have their failures. I call them learning lessons, right? Or the first business didn't make it, but the next one did, right? And then being with them for that one. And now being able to watch them grow up and their businesses to grow up and to mature. And the problems you have when you have 5 employees is not the problems you have when you have 100 employees. And it's not the problems you have when you have 500 employees. And so now, as I said, I still get to work with these emerging companies and venture-backed companies. And my team and I get to be their fractional general counsel. But on the flip side of that, I have some really sophisticated clients that I've got to do some really cool, complex work for over the years, from advanced estate planning to tax strategy work to, M&A transaction in the middle market, and all the things in between that have really allowed me to now really spend a lot of my time as a fractional GC myself personally for privately held businesses, high net worth individuals, and family offices. And so it's been a really fun journey. Again, like I said, I never saw it going this way. It kind of just, water takes the path of least resistance, and this is kind of the path that I ended up on. And it's been just a true blessing to be able to be on this path and be able to work alongside my friends, not just my clients, but my friends. And that's been awesome.
That's an incredible story. And we have a similar situation in that we provide fractional CFO services. We're the finance team for not just law firms, but all kinds of businesses. My vertical happens to focus on law firms. And you're so right. I mean, what we see in 100 different situations can help us advise the client on their specific situation.
Correct.
I always describe it as if you work for Anheuser-Busch, regardless of who owned it, when, whether it was the Brazilians or pre that, there was the AB way to do things. But when you see 100 different ways to do things, you can have all those arrows in your quiver and pull them out when they're necessary.
100%.
I also think it's a new era in law firms. Law firms used to be very stoic, very quiet, conservative. And now we're in this era where they do have value. And it's not just an internal transition value. That's appropriate in some firms. But we're going to get to the point where firms are very saleable. And I love the fact that you advise on that. Can we talk about what would create additional value for a law firm?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think the first thing I'd touch on is I do think the legal industry is at an interesting juxtapose. What got us here is not going to get us there, wherever there is. And if you look at the way firms are structured, look at the way firms operated, you look at the way that we utilize technology, it worked a certain way. And you're talking to someone who early in his career sold dictation equipment. That doesn't even exist anymore. There's some technology that just does voice to text now, right? And it's all AI automated with notes. But the industry, the technology, the way we deliver our services is just different now. And I think that's important, that the first thing people have to understand is that we're dealing with an asset that is shifting, that's transforming. That asset is a law firm. And so what people can do or how you create value about that is no different than any other business. Is you're looking at the people's, the processes, the product, and you're ultimately looking at how do we drive enterprise value? How do we make this asset worth more money? That asset happens to be a law firm, which that's weird because most people haven't ever talked about a law firm as an asset, as having enterprise value. It's a profession. It's something that I do or we do, and we practice the profession and we deliver a work product. And while that all still exists, I think there's a shifting of the mindset of the outside looking in at the industry. But also, I think if you look at the younger lawyers coming up, they view the practice of law very differently than how it was probably viewed in the past.
Yeah, and I think there's two things in my mind that increase value, and I don't care if it's a law firm or any business. One is clean data, clean financial records that can be verified. And when you run your firm or your business like a business and you have good, clean financial data, an investor, a buyer is going to pay you a premium. But if they can't come in and verify the information, they're going to pay you a discount because of the risk they're taking.
That's correct.
Specific to law firms, I think it creates a little more value if there is a non-name in the name. So if it's not Smith and Jones Law Firm, which creates a lot of value for Smith and Jones, but it also ties that value to them. But if it was Lexicon or ABC Law Firm, I think that's more transferable.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, my name doesn't appear anywhere on Mavacy. Mavacy is for Mavericks who want to leave a legacy. We did that very intentionally because it's about the people. It's about the enterprise that we're building. It's not about me or any one individual lawyer. I would totally agree with that. If you look at it, we are built on a legal platform powered by the Atlas system. It's very much set up to be a business. One thing that I learned in my experiences is that law firms often, not all of them, are inefficiently run partnerships. Things that are worth a lot of money are typically successfully run businesses with processes and systems. I think, to your point, having clean books is important. Having good data is important. And sometimes it's the financials. What does the AR look like? What does the P&L look like? What do the financial statements look like? It could also be, what does the marketing data look like? What does what is your ethics history? What is your insurance? Anything that has to do with helping to show that the business is stable. And then the last part is that there's processes and systems that are duplicative and scalable. And so if you can really get those kind of things together, that is, I think, an integral part to driving that value for someone who is interested in selling or having an exit succession plan for themselves.
Yeah, even if you're going to transition internally, improving all those processes and systems are going to create more value for you and your successors.
Yep.
So talk to me about how you charge for your services.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So I think there were, obviously we come from a world where we typically would trade for time for money, right? The billable hour. I think your industry got pretty savvy on a lot of things quicker. You guys deal with numbers, we deal with words. But I think there's an increasing desire and need to move to alternative fee arrangements. And so we're finding that we're doing a lot of more alternative fee arrangements. What does that mean in layman's terms? A flat fee or a budgeted matter? As a professional, if I can't tell you how much something is going to cost, no offense, you shouldn't hire me. Would you ever hire a professional service provider to come to your house and do work if they can't tell you how much it's going to cost? Would you let a plumber, an electrician, would you let a dentist into your mouth? Would you let someone professional do work if they said, I don't know how much it's going to cost, I'll give you a bill at the end and you'll pay it? John, I don't know you, but I never would do that. But in the legal profession, how many times do you get on the phone with a professional, a legal professional? They're like, well, I don't know, it's going to depend. Put down this retainer, we'll figure it out. And it's like, I understand that, but like, you should have data, right? We have data. We can look at our data and we can say, historically, these types of projects, these matters have taken us this much time and cost this much for us to deliver high quality work product. And we're going to quote you based on that. And if I'm good at what I do, sometimes I'm going to make money on it. Sometimes I'm not going to make as much money on it. And that just depends on my ability to run a productive and efficient business and deliver high quality value to the customer. So I do think that is shifting or needs to be shifting. I know we're moving to that approach. I know many peers aren't there yet, and that's okay. But I do think as an industry, we're seeing that shift. I think it's going to have some interesting impacts on the industry as a whole, because so many people are just tied to how many hours did you bill, or what's the hour maximum, or what's your hour minimum, or all those kind of things. And I think those start to maybe become irrelevant over time as we continue to look to how technology is going to transform this industry.
I'm so happy that's the way you bill. That's the exact same way that our virtual CFO services are billed out. And in fact, we can, in 30 to 40 minutes, go through a menu of services that we do. And it's really, what don't you want? Do you want us to handle AP? Do you want us to, reconcile these accounts? Do you want to keep payroll? Whatever you decide, we set an annual price. It's paid on a weekly basis. And it does a couple things, right? It helps our cash flow because we're getting regular deposits. And it tells the client, no matter what my need is, I know what I'm spending for the year.
Correct.
And we tell people that same thing, that 1 month we may be utilized in a heavy manner. And 1 month we know that it's going to even out in that trend line because we know how to price things. Is going to work out for both. Correct.
Yeah. And then that retainer model, I guess when you think about alternative fee arrangement, that retainer model is something as a fractional CFO, fractional GC, we do on a regular basis, right? You count that as budgeting, but having and saying your monthly spend is this, your annual spend is this, and someone knowing upfront what they're investing in, it makes it a lot easier, and it takes a lot of the, it makes it not transactional. One thing that's big to us at Mavacy is relationships over transactions, and if I'm always arguing with over a billable hour or a quarter of an hour or a tenth of an hour or my bills, that's transactional. I always tell my clients, if you have a dispute on the bill, just tell me what you think it should be and just pay it. And I say that openly because if it comes to that, we miss the mark. This is a relationship. I'm investing in you and your growth and your success, and you're investing as me as one of your team members. And so that retainer type approach takes a lot of that noise out of the conversation.
Yeah, I love that because then the client's not afraid to pick up the phone or reach out to ask about a certain situation
That's
because
correct.
they think the clock is going to start. In my younger days, did a lot of estate planning for high net worth individuals, and we would work collaboratively with the attorney, the insurance person, the trust person. The
Yeah.
client would always call the trust officer first because they knew what their fee was. It was based on assets under management,
Yeah.
and then the trust officer would reach out to the rest of the team.
That's correct. That's correct.
Hey, so tell me about your latest book, Don't Die Before You Sell Your Law Firm.
Yeah, thanks for asking about that. So the latest book that's coming out, Don't Die Before You Sell Your Law Firm, and it's I didn't think I was going to write a book, but about 5 years ago, I had a client come to me who was a legal professional and said, most lawyers don't know what they're going to do with their business. You should figure out how to create succession for law firms. It was around that time I coined the phrase law firm succession planning. We have advanced estate planning, we have succession planning for businesses, but who does it for law firms? And so over the last 5 years has kind of been this journey of doing it, and no one was really doing it. There's a few of us out there doing it, and it's becoming more prevalent now. But I started doing it, and people kept asking questions and keep asking questions. And my publisher came to me and said, Marco, you're one of the foremost experts on this. You've done almost as many transactions as anyone out there, or you've consulted just as many law firms as anyone else. Have you ever thought about codifying, of putting all the information in one place? And you're not asking me to write another book. And they said, yeah, we are. And I have an amazing team. I'm so thankful for them. They helped me put it all together, and super excited to have the book out now. You can get it on Amazon. You can get all your major retailers, including like Barnes and Noble and other Targets and other places like that. And the book's really meant to be for someone who is looking at what's next for themselves in their career, especially if they're a law firm owner. Because 73% of law firms, 3 out of every 4 lawyers, don't have a plan, do not know what they're going to do. And if you pick up the book and read the first chapter, you'll know this is near and dear to my heart. I had an amazing mentor who unfortunately is no longer with us, and he didn't have a plan. And I don't want to give away the story, but watching that happen with a front row seat was devastating. And I said, there's got to be a better way. And anytime you ask that, I know I'm not the only person asking, is there a better way? And so we really put the book together as to be a guide, to be a resource for people, to really understand you have a business that you have that has value to it. What the value is, I can't tell you today, but it has value, and you should look at it as an asset. And it's an asset that can be passed on to someone. And so taking that time to reframe what that is. Lawyers don't have to die at their desk. Lawyers don't have to avoid this conversation. Lawyers don't have to struggle through not being able to find a successor or a junior. It doesn't have to be that way. And other professions have figured out it's time for the legal profession to start embracing that and being able to figure out how can someone practice and build an amazing business, and then ultimately find a way to transition it, and along the way create some liquidity for themselves. We make good money as professionals, but the ability to have an exit event or liquidity event through the law firm succession planning is part of it. And I think that's something that's out there to create awareness for the community about the opportunities that are out there for you as a business owner, as you being someone who owns an asset. Yes, you happen to be a lawyer, and the business you have and the asset may be a law firm, but there's value to that. And so getting that awareness is probably the most important part of the book. And I like to think there's some really good information in there that's meant to help. One of the things it talks about is making sure it has a great team that has a CFO on it. So this is very fitting, this conversation, but it's really important that you start to build that team. You start to build those processes out. And I think readers will find that book does a really good job of giving them a playbook and some guidance in the right direction of what to do.
One of the impediments I see to an internal succession is, and this isn't unique to law firms, it's professional service firms in general, is the lack of leverage. And what I mean by that is many older professionals, or as HR would say, more experienced professionals,
seasoned.
I love that. They don't train and trust the next generation of leaders so that they can go on a month-long vacation to Europe and not worry about the place falling apart, or they can retire. And so that is incumbent. We see it in the accounting profession. Those firms are ripe acquisition targets because they have a great client base. They have decent people, and they have no one that they trust enough to pass the firm on to. And so I
No.
think hopefully you've addressed that in the book, and I look forward to reading it. Do you see much activity in the MSO market where we're getting PE money? I
Yeah.
have 3 or 4 firms exploring that. One is closer to implementing it than the other.
Yeah.
Tell me about
Yeah.
that.
So I mean, obviously we originally saw the ABSs kind of be the where we thought the industry was going to go. That because of regulatory reasons, that hasn't happened. That's probably for a whole nother conversation. But the MSOs are the flavor of the year this year. So we're talking about that. I do think it is a good structure. All joking aside, it works very well. We've helped multiple clients put them together. We've advised on multiple transactions around that, and really looking at what makes the most sense from that structure, from an ethical standpoint, from a pricing standpoint, from the transfer pricing, making sure they understand that. And then, we look at also the estate planning component of it, how we put that all together. But it's a great model. It's obviously all the rage. Everyone's talking about it. Every time you flip to a new conference or you go to go to an article, someone's writing about private equity coming into the legal space. And they went after PI, and now they're going after defense firms, and what's next? And they're kind of looking at it all. And the fact is that the legal industry is an asset class that they can go after, just like medical, just like dental, architecture, landscaping, veterinarian. Every industry has seen a transformation once outside capital came in. With legal, with ethics rules and other state regulatory rules that we have, it's a little more complex and a little different in the legal space. But I think the early signs are there. If you look internationally about institutional capital, about private equity coming into the legal space, it's already happening around the world, whether it's in Australia or Europe. You're already seeing it happen. You're already seeing the movement. You already see statistics and data on it working. And so I think we're now seeing that first wave right now, and it's an exciting wave to be on, right? And I think there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of innovation happen because of that. And I think there's going to be, the dust's going to settle here over the next few years as we see what happens with some of these transactions, how they happen. But it's an interesting time for sure, with the opportunity to, hey, I can take my law firm, set up an MSO, and I either can ultimately bring in non-legal professionals in the business, or I can ultimately bring in outside money to help with the operations and management to really scale up the business.
Yeah, and I think phase 1 is set up the MSO to serve your law firm. And then once you get really good at that, either start acquiring or service other firms, and then PE can come in now and be part of the MSO. There's a dark side to PE, right? We see it in the accounting profession. I have medical practices. I have a landscaping company. All have rolled into PE. It's been great for the founders, right? They got a big check. They got a big piece of rollover equity in the NewCo. Second bite at the apple doesn't always come as quick as they thought, and it's not as big as they thought, but it's a great exit for founders who don't have a succession plan. And the other dark piece of it is, at least in accounting, and we have not taken PE, although we're pursued all the time, is that I see it from my view as a detriment to the young professional who came in and said, oh my God, we don't have the autonomy that the founders had.
Correct.
We're never going to have that because we have to answer to PE. And if we don't hit our numbers, they're not going to let us hire people. So the pendulum is swinging that way right now in the legal profession. I think it'll normalize, but it's an interesting time.
It's definitely an interesting time. You layer on what's happening with technology. And like I said, I think we're at an interesting juxtapose as professionals, as an industry. I think we're ripe for some disruption. I'm excited to be in the space right now, playing in it. It is an interesting time for sure.
It is fun. And we haven't even touched AI and use cases for AI, because 3 or 4 years ago, the legal profession was nope. And now everyone is embracing AI, except for maybe the civil defense firms who already see that pressure from the insurance company. And this is just going to make that pressure ratchet up even more.
Yeah.
Hey, I know you're a big sports guy. Tell me about that trophy behind you.
So that's the Larry O'Brien Trophy. I was blessed enough to get my hands on that when we were part of the Grand Rapids Gold, which is a G League affiliate of the Denver Nuggets, who happened to win a few years ago. And when they won, I got a piece of hardware, which is super cool to have. So it's awesome to be involved. As we were talking before the show, sports is a huge part of my life. Being involved with the team is a major part of what I do, and most people who know me know. And when it comes to sports, it's something I love to do, and to be part of an organization and go through that experience of winning something at the highest level is one of the more surreal things I've ever done in my career.
Were you in the room? Does Kroenke own the Nuggets?
He does, yes.
Yeah, we don't like him here, but that's
okay. Yeah. So,
but was Porter on that team, Michael Porter? Or was that before?
He was. No,
okay.
That was there, yeah.
He played at the University of Missouri for about 2 minutes before he got hurt. He's from Columbia, Missouri, and we were all thinking, okay, this is our next new window of opportunity to be good.
Yeah.
You're also a Detroit Lions fan, so do you have any predictions this year on how they will do?
We're going to have a lot of grit. That's what I can tell you. We got some really high paid players, but I think that I'm actually really excited about the Lions, and this year I'm super enthusiastic about their new president, Richard Haddad, and having him aboard, coming over. So got great leadership there, great ownership there. I think we have a great team. Obviously, Coach Campbell's awesome, and just how he's able to engage, interact with the players is huge. And so getting them all rowing in the same direction is an important part. I mean, you can never tell by the preseason, they're kind of figuring out who's going to make the team and everything. But I'm pretty excited. We got a great quarterback. We got great, key role players at every spot. So it should be a pretty fun season. I mean, if nothing else, we know we're going to go for it on 4th, right? So that's good.
Campbell seems like the perfect personality for Detroit. I mean, when the outsiders think of Detroit, it's the auto worker, the factory worker, just the gritty guy, and he's just the perfect personality for that.
Yeah, you talk about Detroit, you talk about hustle, you talk about Detroit, you talk about grit, you talk about that. Those just, he embodies that. I think he brings that to the players, and I think they really react well to it. I mean, I'm not on the inside, but you see how they perform, you see how they talk about it. It's something that I think has made the team special and unique. I think that's an important part of having, regardless of sport, having ownership that's bought into the vision, having empowering a coach to be able to really execute on that vision based on their playbook. I think that's how you build winning organizations.
Love it. Hey, Michael, this has been great. What's the best way for folks to get a hold of you and or your firm?
Absolutely. So you can always go to Mavacy.com, Mavacy.com. Well, there's a plethora of information there, and you can contact any of our professionals and see all of our offices there. If they're looking to get the book, obviously they could go to any one of the retailers like Amazon or Barnes & Noble. They can also go to don'tdiebeforeyousell.com, and you can get the book there. So that's another place they can definitely get a hold of us. For me personally, if you go to LinkedIn, that's probably the easiest way. If you look for Michael S. as in Sam Melfi, I'm the only one there, Michael S. Melfi. You'll find me there. That's probably the easiest way to communicate with me. I'm pretty active on social media, especially LinkedIn. So that's probably the other way. That's probably the best ways to get a hold of us.
Does anybody bring up the Sopranos reference for your last name?
That's my aunt.
No.
All the time. So when it was on, they would always talk about it. It's, since it's no longer on, I don't get it as much, but yeah, I used to get it quite a bit.
What a great show. I'm rewatching it now. So
nice. Hey,
do you have
Michael, a favorite season?
What's that?
Do you have a favorite season you're on, or?
I like the early seasons better. I'm on season 3 again now. So it got a little, all shows get a little goofy towards the end.
Yeah. First couple seasons were pretty amazing to watch.
They really are. Hey, Michael, thanks again for joining us today on this episode of Judicial Dollars and Cents. I look forward to seeing you at Mardi Gras later this fall. And for our listeners, if you enjoyed today's discussion, please subscribe and listen again. And if your law firm is looking to improve profitability, build strategic enterprise, and prepare for succession or gain strategic financial insights, we'd love for you to visit with Anders Virtual CFO Services or with Michael Melfi. Until next time, I'm John Scott, and we'll see you on the next episode of Judicial Dollars and Cents. Thanks for joining us on Judicial Dollars and Cents, presented by Anders Virtual CFO Services. If you found value in today's conversation, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcast. To learn more about how Anders helps law firms strengthen their financial foundations and drive growth, visit anderscpa.com. Until next time, keep making smart decisions that make perfect sense.